A single drop of blood. That's all she promised it would take. One drop to diagnose cancer. One drop to run over 200 medical tests. The woman behind this promise became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. At 19, she dropped out of Stanford. At 30, she was worth $4.5 billion. The media called her the next Steve Jobs. Her name was Elizabeth Holmes, and every word she said was a lie. This is the story of Theranos, the $9 billion blood test that never worked. Palo Alto, California, 2003. Elizabeth Holmes is 19 years old, a sophomore at Stanford studying chemical engineering. But she doesn't want to be a student anymore. She has an idea, an obsession. Her uncle just died of cancer. She watched him suffer through endless blood tests, needles, pain. And she has an idea, a beautiful, revolutionary idea. What if one finger prick could replace it all? Spring 2004. She drops out of Stanford. Everyone thinks she's crazy. Her parents beg her to stay. Her professors tell her it's a mistake. But Elizabeth doesn't listen. She knows something they don't. Actually, she doesn't know anything. But she's about to convince the world that she does. She names her company Theranos. She's 19, no medical degree, no engineering background, no experience in healthcare. But watch what happens next. She puts on a black turtleneck. She practices deepening her voice in the mirror. She learns to never blink when she talks. She studies Steve Jobs' every move. And then she starts pitching. We're going to democratize healthcare. We're going to save millions of lives. One drop of blood will change everything. Investors are mesmerized. They see a young female Stanford dropout with a world-changing idea in a $3 trillion industry. The money starts pouring in. Elizabeth Holmes is now worth $4.5 billion. At 30 years old, she's the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Forbes cover, Fortune cover, Inc. magazine cover. But here's what makes this even crazier. Her board of directors, George Shultz, former Secretary of State; Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State; James Mattis, four-star general; William Perry, former Secretary of Defense. But notice something interesting. Not a single medical expert, not one scientist, not a single engineer who actually understands the technology. Only powerful names, only people who can't question the science. Elizabeth Holmes is everywhere now. TED Talks, magazine covers, TV interviews, always in that black turtleneck. Inside Theranos headquarters, 2013. From the outside, innovation, success, the future of healthcare. But inside, chaos. The device they promised doesn't exist. They call it Edison, named after Thomas Edison. But it doesn't work. So, they cheat. When investors visit, they see demo rooms. Everything works perfectly. Tiny finger prick, small device, revolutionary. But when investors leave, back to reality. They're using traditional blood draws, regular lab equipment from Siemens, standard testing methods. Everything they said they'd eliminated. Employees who question this are fired immediately. Elizabeth's boyfriend and COO, Sunny Balwani, creates a culture of fear. September 2013. Theranos launches in Walgreens stores across Arizona. Real patients, real blood tests, real medical decisions. And the results? Wrong. A woman gets results saying she's miscarrying. She rushes to the hospital in tears. She's not miscarrying. The test was wrong. A man's results show he's at risk for a heart attack. He panics, gets invasive procedures, unnecessary tests. The Theranos results? Completely wrong. And inside Theranos, employees are terrified. One of them is Tyler Schultz, 22 years old, recent Stanford grad, and the grandson of George Shultz, the former Secretary of State on Theranos' board. Tyler sees the problems, the faulty tests, the lies, the danger to patients. He reports it internally. He's ignored. He goes to his grandfather, begs him to investigate. His grandfather sides with Elizabeth Holmes. Tyler is heartbroken, but he makes a choice. He becomes a whistleblower. John Carreyrou, Wall Street Journal investigative reporter. He gets a tip. Something is very wrong at Theranos. He starts digging. Tyler talks to him. Other whistleblowers come forward. The truth slowly emerges. Theranos fights back, hard. They hire David Boies, one of America's most expensive lawyers. They send threatening letters. They hire private investigators to follow whistleblowers, to intimidate them. October 15, 2015. The Wall Street Journal publishes John Carreyrou's investigation. The article exposes everything: the faulty technology, the fake demos, the misled investors. Former employees confirm Edison could perform maybe 15 tests, not 200. Theranos used competitors' machines for most tests. The world is watching. Elizabeth Holmes fights back. She goes on every show: CNBC, Bloomberg, Mad Money. But the evidence keeps mounting. The FDA launches an investigation. July 2016. FDA releases its report. Theranos' lab poses immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety. Theranos closes its labs, lays off 340 employees, 40% of its workforce. Gone. The lawsuits begin. Walgreens sues, patients sue, investors sue. The company is dying. The $9 billion valuation? Gone. Investors lost hundreds of millions. And Elizabeth Holmes? She's about to face something she never faced before. Consequences. June 15, 2018. Elizabeth Holmes is indicted by a federal grand jury. 9 counts of wire fraud. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The judge delivers the sentence: 11 years and 3 months in federal prison. She won't be eligible for release until 2032. The woman who promised to change healthcare is now inmate number 24965.